What if I told you that 1 out of every 4 people walking past you on the street right now has absolutely nothing saved for retirement? Zero. Not a single dollar. And here's the part that should terrify you. Most of them have no idea how bad their situation really is. They're just hoping everything works out somehow. Spoiler alert, hope is not a financial strategy. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm about to reveal the exact numbers that show where the average person actually stands financially. Some of these statistics will shock you. Others might make you feel a whole lot better about your own situation. But I promise you this, by the time we're done here, you'll never look at money the same way again. Before we dive deep into this, if you find value in what I'm about to share, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. It costs you nothing, but it helps more people discover this information. And trust me, after seeing these numbers, you'll understand why more people desperately need to hear this.
All right, let's start with the most basic question. How much money does the average person actually earn? When that paycheck hits your bank account every 2 weeks, are you earning more or less than everybody else? The Bureau of Labor Statistics just released their latest data, and here's what it shows. The median weekly earnings for a full-time worker in America comes in at just over $1,000. That works out to roughly $52,000 per year before taxes. Now let me be crystal clear about what this means. We're talking about individual income here, not household income where you'd combine 2 working adults, just one person. And when we say median, that means exactly half of all workers earn more than this amount and half earn less. It's the dead center of the pack. If you're making around $26 per hour at your job right now, congratulations, you're right there with the average full-time worker in this country. But wait, here's where reality smacks you in the face. That $52,000 figure, that's before Uncle Sam comes knocking at your door with his hand out. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare all take their cuts, that number shrinks dramatically. Depending on where you live, you might be taking home somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000. Suddenly doesn't seem like quite as much money, does it?
But income is just one piece of this puzzle. What really matters, and I mean really matters, is what people are doing with that money once they earn it. This is where things get fascinating and, honestly, a little bit terrifying. Let's talk about retirement savings, because this is where most people are in for a seriously rude awakening. The Federal Reserve conducted their most recent survey, and the results are startling. The median amount that Americans have saved for retirement is $65,000. Now, before you start feeling too good or too bad about that number, remember that this includes people of all ages who actually have retirement accounts. Here's the kicker that should make your jaw drop. About 25% of Americans don't even have a retirement account. They have $0 saved for when they stop working. Nothing, nada, zilch. That means 1 out of every 4 people you meet on any given day is planning to rely entirely on Social Security when they retire. Assuming, of course, that Social Security is even still around by then. And that's a pretty big assumption. For those who do have retirement savings, the numbers vary dramatically by age, and some of these figures are genuinely alarming. People under 25 have a median balance of less than $2,000. Now, to be fair, if you're 23 years old and just starting your career, having $2,000 saved isn't terrible. But it does highlight something crucial. Starting early isn't just important. It's everything. The 25 to 34 age group does a bit better, with a median balance of around $14,000. But even that amount seems pretty small when you consider these are people who have been working for several years. They should be hitting their stride financially by now. Instead, they're barely getting started. By the time we get to the 65 and older crowd, the median balance climbs to around $88,000. Pause. Let me say that again, because I need you to really hear this number. $88,000. That's what the average person has saved for retirement when they're actually ready to retire. Now, $88,000 might sound like a decent chunk of change at first, but let's put it in perspective, and I want you to really think about this. If you retire with $88,000 and follow the traditional 4% withdrawal rule, you'd be able to pull out about $3,500 per year from your retirement accounts. That's less than $300 per month. $300. Could you live on $300 per month in retirement? Even if you own your home outright and have absolutely no mortgage payment, $300 wouldn't cover your groceries, utilities, healthcare, and everything else you need to survive. It wouldn't even come close. This is why understanding these statistics is so critically important. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s and you're looking at these retirement numbers, you should be having a very serious conversation with yourself about whether you're saving enough, because the average person clearly isn't. If this information is hitting home for you right now, share this video with someone you care about. Seriously, they need to hear this too. Now let's talk about Social Security, since so many people are apparently planning to rely on it heavily. The Social Security Administration reports that the average monthly benefit is around $1,550. That's about $18,600 per year. $18,000 might sound like it could be workable, especially if you don't have a mortgage payment. But remember, this is the average payment. If you had years where you didn't work or earned very little money, your benefit could be significantly lower than this. And if you're someone who never earned much during your working years, you might be looking at a Social Security check that's barely enough to keep the lights on. Some people take a completely different approach to this whole Social Security thing. They plan their retirement assuming they won't receive a single dime from the program, treating any benefit they do receive as a bonus. This might seem overly cautious to some folks, but given the long-term funding challenges facing Social Security, it's probably not a bad way to think about it. Let me shift gears now and talk about something that affects your life right now, today, every single day. How much does the average household actually spend each month? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, American households spend an average of about $5,577 per month. Over the course of a year, that adds up to roughly $67,000 in total spending. Think about what this means. If the average household is spending $67,000 per year, they need to bring home at least that much just to break even. And remember, we're talking about take-home pay here, not gross income. So if you want to have any money left over for savings, investments, or building any kind of wealth, you need to be earning significantly more than $67,000 per year as a household. This spending breaks down into some pretty predictable categories, but the actual amounts might genuinely surprise you. The biggest chunk goes to housing, which shouldn't shock anyone who's ever paid rent or a mortgage. The average household spends about $1,885 per month on housing costs. That includes rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, utilities, and maintenance. That's over $22,000 per year just to keep a roof over your head. And if you're living in a major city right now, you're probably laughing at how low that number sounds. In places like San Francisco, New York, or Boston, $1,800 might get you a closet with a window if you're lucky. Food comes in as the second biggest expense, with the average household spending about $691 per month on groceries and dining out. That's over $8,000 per year just to keep everyone fed.
Transportation eats up another $913 per month, which covers car payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, and public transportation. That's nearly $11,000 per year just to get from point A to point B. This is exactly why so many financial experts suggest that your housing and transportation costs combined shouldn't exceed 50% of your income. When you add up that $1,800 for housing and $900 for transportation, you're already at $2,700 per month. And we haven't even talked about food, healthcare, entertainment, or anything else yet. Now, let's dive into something that can make or break your entire financial future: credit scores. Most people know they should care about their credit score, but they might have absolutely no idea where they actually stand compared to everyone else. According to Experian, the average FICO score in America is 715. That's actually pretty solid. Credit scores range from 300 to 850, so 715 puts the average person in what's considered good credit territory. But here's what's interesting about this number. It means that a lot of people are doing at least some things right when it comes to managing their credit. They're generally paying their bills on time, they're keeping their debt levels somewhat reasonable.
But don't let that 715 average fool you into thinking everyone has their credit situation figured out. There is still plenty of people walking around with scores in the 500s and 600s, wondering why they can't get approved for decent interest rates on anything. Your credit score affects everything, from your mortgage rate to your car loan terms. Some employers even check credit scores before hiring. The good news is that maintaining a decent credit score isn't rocket science. Pay your bills on time, don't max out your credit cards, and avoid opening new credit accounts every time you want to save 10% at the checkout counter. It's really that simple. Yet somehow, a significant portion of the population still manages to mess it up. Speaking of credit, let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge: credit card debt. This is where things get ugly fast. The average household is carrying over $9,000 in credit card debt. $9,000. That's not a car loan or a mortgage where you're at least buying something that holds some value. That's $9,000 spent on stuff that's probably sitting in closets gathering dust or already thrown away. What makes this even more painful is the interest rates on credit cards. We're talking 15, 20, sometimes 25% or even higher. If you're paying 20% interest on $9,000 in credit card debt, you're throwing away $1,800 per year just in interest payments alone. That's money that could be going toward building real wealth. Instead, it's making credit card companies obscenely rich. Here's what really gets me about credit card debt. Most of it comes from buying things people don't actually need. Sure, sometimes people use credit cards for genuine emergencies or unexpected expenses, but let's be brutally honest here. A lot of that $9,000 went toward clothes, electronics, dinners out, online shopping sprees, and impulse purchases that seemed like a fantastic idea at 2 in the morning. The solution is pretty straightforward, even if it's not always easy to implement. Pay off your credit card balances in full every single month. If you can't afford to pay cash for something, don't put it on a credit card unless it's a genuine life emergency. And if you're already carrying a balance, make paying it off your absolute top financial priority, even before you start investing for retirement.
There's absolutely no point in earning 7% in the stock market if you're paying 20% on credit card debt. The math simply doesn't work. Now, let's talk about net worth, because this is probably the best single number for measuring your overall financial health. Net worth is simple. It's what you own minus what you owe. Add up the value of your house, your cars, your bank accounts, your retirement accounts, and everything else you own. Then subtract your mortgage, credit card debt, student loans, and any other money you owe. Whatever's left over is your net worth. According to the Federal Reserve, the median net worth for American households is about $122,000. But just like with retirement savings, this number varies dramatically by age, and some of these breakdowns are genuinely eye-opening. If you're under 35, the median net worth is less than $14,000. If you're 25 years old and just starting your career, having $14,000 in net worth isn't terrible. But if you're 34 and still sitting at $14,000, you might want to have a serious conversation with yourself about where you're headed.
The 35 to 44 age group does better with a median net worth of $91,000. The 45 to 54 crowd hits $168,000. People between 55 and 64 have a median net worth of $212,000, and those 65 to 74 years old hit $266,000. Here's what I find absolutely fascinating about these numbers. They're actually pretty achievable for most people with decent incomes and some basic financial discipline. You don't need to be a stock market genius or start the next billion-dollar tech company to hit these milestones. You just need to consistently spend less than you earn and invest the difference. But there's another side to this coin that we absolutely need to address: savings rates. How much of their income is the average person actually setting aside? The Bureau of Economic Analysis shows that Americans save about 6% of their income after taxes. 6%. That's it. Now, 6% might not sound terrible at first, but let's really think about what this means in practical terms. If you're saving 6% of your income and some of that needs to go towards short-term goals like buying a car or making a down payment on a house, there's almost nothing left over for long-term wealth building. Consider this reality check. The average down payment on a home is $62,000. The average kitchen renovation costs $26,000. A new car averages over $47,000. If you're only saving 6% of your income and you need to fund all these shorter-term goals, how much is actually making it into your retirement accounts? The honest answer for most people is almost nothing. Most financial experts suggest saving at least 10 to 15% of your income specifically for retirement, and that's on top of whatever you're setting aside for other goals. If you want to retire early and not have to work until you're 70, you probably need to be saving even more than that. If you're still with me, you're clearly serious about understanding this stuff. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the videos coming next. Trust me, they're going to change how you think about money. This brings us to something that might genuinely surprise you: retirement age. When do you think most people actually stop working? If you guessed 65, you'd be close but not quite right. According to recent data, the average retirement age in America is 61.
Now, that might sound pretty good at first. Who wouldn't want to retire at 61 and spend their golden years doing whatever they want? But here's the catch that nobody talks about. Most people can't collect their full Social Security benefits until age 67. So if you're retiring at 61, you've got 6 years to bridge that gap somehow. And if your retirement savings look anything like those median numbers we talked about earlier, those 6 years might be extremely lean. Here's another way to think about this. If you start working at 22 and retire at 61, you've been in the workforce for 39 years. That's nearly 4 decades of getting up early, commuting to work, dealing with difficult bosses, sitting in endless meetings, and doing whatever it takes to earn a paycheck. After all that time, you finally get to retire, with maybe $88,000 in your retirement account, which we already established gives you about $300 per month to live on. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Because honestly, it sounds like a pretty raw deal to me. But here's where it gets even more thought-provoking. The Social Security Administration says that someone who reaches age 65 can expect to live another 19 to 21 years. So if you retire at 61, you might have 25 years or more of retirement to fund.
25 years is an incredibly long time. That's longer than most people's entire career up to that point. And here's the question that should genuinely keep you up at night. How many of those 25 retirement years are you going to be healthy enough to actually enjoy? At 61, there's a decent chance you're still in pretty good shape. You can travel, play with grandkids, pursue hobbies, live life to the fullest. But what about at 71 or 81? Time has a funny way of catching up with all of us. The activities you can do at 65 might not be the same ones you can handle at 75. This is precisely why understanding these financial statistics isn't just about satisfying your curiosity. It's about recognizing that the average person's approach to money simply isn't working very well. When the typical American has less than $90,000 saved for retirement and is simultaneously carrying $9,000 in credit card debt, something is seriously wrong with the picture. But here's the good news, and this is exactly why I wanted to share all these numbers with you today. Once you know what average looks like, it becomes remarkably clear how to do better than average. And doing better than average doesn't require some magical formula or secret knowledge that only wealthy people possess. Listen to me carefully. If you're consistently saving more than 6% of your income, you're already ahead of most people. If you're avoiding credit card debt entirely, you're way ahead of the game. If you understand what you're investing in and you're actually putting money into retirement accounts on a regular basis, you're absolutely lapping the competition. The reality is that most of these statistics are pretty achievable to beat with some basic financial discipline. You don't need to earn a 6-figure salary or inherit money from a wealthy relative. You just need to be more intentional about your money than the average person. And frankly, that bar is set remarkably low. Think about it this way. If the average household is spending $5,500 per month and you can figure out how to live comfortably on $4,500 per month, you've just freed up $12,000 per year for savings and investments. Do that consistently for a few decades, and you'll be in a completely different financial league than most of your peers. The same principle applies to all of these statistics. Beat the average by a little bit in multiple areas, and the compound effect over time becomes absolutely massive.
Earn a bit more than $52,000 per year. Save more than 6%, avoid credit card debt completely, invest consistently in low-cost index funds. Do these things, and you'll retire with significantly more than $88,000. What I find most interesting about all of this is how these numbers reveal the enormous gap between what people say they want and what they actually do. Everyone says they want financial security. Everyone says they want to retire comfortably. Everyone says they want to stop worrying about money constantly. But the average person's behavior doesn't match up with these goals at all. Maybe that's because most people don't actually know what average looks like. Maybe they assume everyone else has their financial act together, so they don't feel any urgency to change their own habits. Or they know deep down they should be doing better, but they don't know where to start. Or they think it's too late to make a meaningful difference. If you're watching this video right now and some of these statistics hit a little too close to home, don't panic.
The fact that you're here, learning about money, trying to understand your financial situation, that already puts you ahead of a lot of people. Most folks never even take the time to figure out where they stand or what they need to do differently. You're different. You showed up. That matters more than you know.
The key is to use these numbers as motivation, not as an excuse to give up. If you're 35 with less than $14,000 in net worth, that doesn't mean you're doomed to financial mediocrity. It means you have some work to do. But you also have 30 years or more to get it right. That's an enormous amount of time when compound interest is working in your favor. And if you're already doing better than these averages in some areas, don't let that success make you complacent. Maybe you have a solid credit score and no credit card debt, but your retirement savings are seriously behind. Or maybe you're fantastic at saving money, but you're keeping it all in a savings account earning practically nothing instead of investing it for real growth. There's always room to improve. Always. The bottom line is this. These financial statistics of the average person should be eye-opening, but they should also be deeply empowering. When you know what normal looks like, you can make informed decisions about whether you want to be normal or whether you want to be significantly better than that.
Personally, I think you deserve better than retiring at $61 with $88,000 and hoping Social Security doesn't run out of money. You deserve better than carrying credit card debt month after month and spending every single dollar you earn. You deserve the peace of mind that comes with having your financial house truly in order. These statistics show us where the average person ends up, but they don't have to define where you end up. Use them as a starting point, not a finish line. Because once you understand what most people are doing with their money, it becomes crystal clear how to do something different and get much, much better results. The choice is entirely yours. Average is always available, but so is exceptional. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, leave a comment below telling me which statistic surprised you the most. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you want more content that actually helps you build the life you deserve. Because at the end of the day, your financial future isn't determined by luck or circumstance. It's determined by the choices you make today, starting right now. What are you going to choose?